There is a moment that happens to almost every dog owner. You are sitting somewhere ordinary, the couch, the kitchen floor, the back steps, and your dog is near you, and something shifts. You look at them. Really look at them. And for a second you see it. They are not young anymore. You don't know exactly when it happened. You were there for all of it. But somewhere in the middle of the daily feeding and the walks and the small routines of a shared life, time moved. And your dog moved with it. And you almost missed it. This video is about what that life actually felt like from the inside. Not what it looked like to you. What it felt like to them. From the first moment of consciousness to the last. Every stage. Every shift. The fear and the joy and the confusion and the deep animal contentment that most owners never fully understand they were witnessing. By the end of this, you will see your dog's life, wherever they are in it right now, completely differently. The first 8 weeks. Your dog's story begins in darkness and warmth and the specific smell of their mother. They cannot see. They cannot hear. Their nervous system is so undeveloped that the world is almost entirely tactile. Pressure, warmth, the sensation of being pressed against other bodies, the stimulation of the mother's tongue. This is not nothing. This is the foundation. Every mammal's nervous system is built from the ground up on a sequence of early experiences that establish what safety feels like. For your dog, in those first 8 weeks, safety had a very specific texture. The weight of other bodies, the smell of their mother's milk, the warmth of a pile of littermates, the rhythmic stimulation of being groomed. This is what their nervous system was calibrated to. This is the template their brain built before it could do anything else. At around 2 weeks, the eyes open. But the brain isn't ready yet. The images don't fully resolve, don't fully make sense. What they see is light and shadow and movement, none of it yet attached to meaning. At around 3 weeks, the ears begin to work. And this is when the world becomes, for the first time, genuinely overwhelming. Sound is everywhere. It comes from every direction. It arrives before there's any framework to process it. Puppies at this stage startle easily, cry easily, seek the comfort of physical contact with an urgency that looks almost frantic. Because it is. Their nervous system has just been handed an enormous amount of new information and it does not yet know what to do with any of it. What gets them through this is their mother. Her calm body. Her regulated heartbeat. Her consistent, unhurried presence. This is the first lesson their nervous system learns. When the world is too much, seek the regulated other. Press close to the calm thing. Let their nervous system tell yours that the threat is not real. Your dog still does this. With you. Every time they press against your leg when something frightens them, every time they seek you out when the world feels like too much, they are doing exactly what they learned in those first weeks of life. Before they had language, before they had memory in any form we'd recognize, before they had any conscious sense of self. The blueprint was laid in darkness, in warmth, against their mother's side. You inherited it. 3 weeks to 3 months. The world becomes real. Something extraordinary happens between 3 weeks and 3 months. The puppy's brain, which at birth was roughly 10% developed, grows at a rate that will never be matched again in their entire life. Neurons are firing and connecting and pruning at an almost violent pace. The world is being organized. Categories are being built. This is safe, this is dangerous, this is familiar, this is unknown. All of these distinctions are being established right now for the first time. This window is called the critical socialization period. And what happens during it shapes who your dog will be for the rest of their life in ways that are difficult, sometimes impossible, to fully undo. Every experience during this window is not just an experience. It is a template. A puppy who encounters traffic during this window and is calm learns. Traffic is part of the world. Traffic is not a threat. A puppy who never encounters traffic learns. Traffic is unknown. Unknown things are potentially dangerous. The second dog can be helped, can be trained, can be exposed and slowly desensitized. But the nervous system's default setting was established during the window. And defaults are stubborn. What your dog encountered between 3 weeks and 3 months, what they were exposed to, what they were protected from, what they learned to approach and what they learned to avoid, that period wrote the foundational chapter of who they are. Most owners never meet their dog during this window. They arrive at 8 weeks with a puppy whose most important developmental period is already half over. The other half, from 8 to 16 weeks, is the window you actually have. 16 weeks. That's the edge. After 16 weeks, the socialization window doesn't slam shut, but it narrows dramatically. New things become harder to integrate. The nervous system has made its decisions. The world has been sorted. What were those 8 weeks like for your dog? Terrifying and exhilarating and completely consuming, in a way that nothing in their later life will quite replicate. Every day brought something their brain had never processed. Every new smell was a category being built from scratch. Every new face was a decision. Safe or not safe, familiar or foreign. They were building the world. It just looked like playing. 3 months to 1 year. Fear, joy, and the discovery of you. Between 3 months and 1 year, 2 things happen that will define the rest of your dog's life. The first is a second fear period. At around 8 to 10 months, just when your puppies seem to be getting confident, just when they seem to have figured things out, they will often appear to regress. Things that were fine before become frightening. New experiences produce avoidance instead of curiosity. The puppy who bounced toward strangers now hangs back. This is normal. This is neurological. The brain is doing a final reorganization before settling into its adult architecture. It is rechecking its assessments. It is making sure the threat calibration is accurate before locking it in. What looks like regression is actually a final audit. What your dog needs from you during this period is not pressure, not exposure therapy, not the well-meaning insistence that there's nothing to be afraid of. What they need is calm. Your calm, specifically. Your regulated nervous system telling theirs, the world is okay, I have assessed this, you do not need to be afraid. If you push during a fear period, if you flood, if you force, if you override the anxiety with cheerful insistence, you teach the nervous system that its fear signal was correct. Something bad did happen. The person I depend on didn't protect me. If you hold steady, if you give them space, if you let them retreat and return at their own pace, you teach something different. You teach. Fear came, and then it passed. You teach. The world is survivable. You teach. I am here, and I am not afraid, and you can use my calm to regulate your own. The second thing that happens in this period is the crystallization of attachment. Your dog is figuring out who you are to them. Not just that you provide food. Not just that you are the person who appears at certain predictable times. Something deeper than that. They are figuring out whether you are safe. Whether you are consistent. Whether you are someone their nervous system can rely on. Someone whose presence means threat level is low. Someone they can use as a reference point when the world is uncertain. This is called secure base formation. And it matters more than almost anything else in your relationship. A dog who forms a secure base with their owner at this stage has a fundamentally different life than one who doesn't. The secure base dog explores more confidently, because they know where home is. They recover from stress more quickly, because they have somewhere to return to. They show more curiosity and less anxiety, because the foundation is solid. The attachment isn't formed by training. It isn't formed by treats or commands or any particular exercise. It is formed by consistency. By showing up. By being the same person today that you were yesterday and will be tomorrow. By having a nervous system that says, reliably, again and again and again, this is safe, I am here, you can rest. 1 to 3 years. The peak. Between 1 and 3 years, your dog arrives at what will be the physical and cognitive peak of their life. Their body is fully developed. Their nervous system has settled. The anxiety of puppyhood, the fear periods, the uncertainty, the overwhelming novelty, has given way to something steadier. This is the dog you were waiting for. This is when the personality you've been watching develop suddenly feels complete. The quirks are established. The preferences are clear. The relationship has a texture and a history and a set of shared references that didn't exist a year ago. Your dog knows you now in a way that goes beyond recognition. They know your moods. They know the specific rhythm of your footsteps versus everyone else's. They know what it means when you pick up your keys versus when you pick up your phone. They know the difference between the clothes you wear when you're going somewhere that includes them and the clothes you wear when you're going somewhere that doesn't. They have built a detailed, constantly updated model of you. Of your behavior, your patterns, your emotional states, your reliability or unreliability. This model is more detailed and more accurate than most people ever realize. And here is what your dog does with that model during these peak years. When everything is working and the relationship is full, they use you as a lens. When they encounter something new, they look at you. Not just physically look, they read you. They assess your response. Is this safe? Is this a threat? The scientific term for this is social referencing, and it is the same behavior you see in human infants. The world is uncertain, so I check the person I trust. Their reaction tells me what mine should be. You are always communicating with your dog, even when you think you're not. Your posture, your tension, your breathing, the quality of your attention, all of it is being read, continuously, by an animal that has had thousands of years of practice at exactly this. During the peak years, this communication is richest. Your dog is at maximum sensitivity and maximum capacity. Everything you transmit, they receive. Everything you model, they learn. These are the years most owners look back on later and wish they had been more present for. Be present for them now. 3 to 7 years. The quiet middle. Somewhere between 3 and 7 years, depending on the breed and the dog, the peak begins to plateau. The change is subtle. You might not notice it for months. Your dog seems the same personality, same appetite, same enthusiasm for the walk. But something in the quality of their movement has shifted slightly. They tire a little faster. They take a little longer to recover from exertion. They sleep a little more. This is not disease. This is life doing what life does. What your dog is experiencing during these years, if their life is good, if they are loved and well kept and living in an environment that makes sense to them, is something close to contentment. Not the excited, uncertain, exploring contentment of puppyhood. Not the peak alertness of early adulthood. Something quieter. Settled. They know who they are. They know who you are. They know the rhythms of the household, the patterns of the week, the specific sound of each family member's arrival. They have internalized the structure of their life so completely that it has become, simply, the world. Dogs in the quiet middle years often show what researchers call hedonic baseline behavior. Behaviors that indicate they are experiencing life at its baseline as pleasant rather than neutral or stressful. They seek warmth. They seek proximity to preferred people. They engage with familiar objects and environments with an ease that speaks of deep familiarity. It looks like nothing special. That's exactly what it is. Your dog in these years, lying in the patch of sun by the window, getting up to follow you from room to room, settling at your feet in the evening, they are not bored. They are not waiting. They are living. Fully. In the only tense animals have access to, which is the present one. We spend a lot of time worrying about whether our dogs are stimulated enough, entertained enough, exercised enough. These are real concerns. But they can obscure something simpler. A dog who is safe and warm and near the person they love, and moving at the pace their body wants to move, that dog is experiencing something good. Not dramatic, not peak, but good in the way that ordinary, reliable, unhurried days are good. The quiet middle is longer than any other stage. It is the bulk of your dog's life. Don't miss it while you're waiting for something more interesting. 7 to 10 years. The slowing. The slowing comes for every dog. The only variable is when. For small breeds, it may not arrive until 10 or 11. For large breeds, Great Danes, Irish Wolfhounds, St. Bernards, it can begin as early as 5 or 6. For Labradors, it tends to arrive somewhere between 7 and 9. The slowing is not one thing. It is a constellation of changes, arriving at different rates, showing up in different ways. The joints begin to tell the story first. Usually, the dog that used to leap into the car now pauses. The dog that used to take the stairs 2 at a time now takes them 1 at a time, and sometimes you see them hesitate at the bottom, making a small calculation. The hearing goes next, or sometimes simultaneously. You call their name and they don't come. Not because they're ignoring you. Because they genuinely didn't hear you. And the first time you realize this, the first time you understand that your dog is not being stubborn, they are going deaf, something shifts in how you look at them. The eyes cloud. The muzzle grays. The body that used to be all muscle and motion begins to soften and settle into itself. And here is what you need to understand about your dog's experience of all this. They are not afraid of it. This is difficult for humans to accept because we are afraid of it. We watch our dogs slow down and we feel grief, and we project that grief onto them. We assume they are suffering the loss of what they used to be. We assume they feel diminished. Dogs don't have the cognitive architecture for that kind of loss. They don't remember what it felt like to sprint. They don't compare today's slower walk to last year's faster one. They don't grieve the stairs they used to take 2 at a time. What they experience is today. This walk at this pace with this person. This is what a walk is. This is enough. What they need from you during the slowing is adjustment, not grief. Shorter walks, taken more slowly, in places with good smells and gentle surfaces. More time for the rituals they've always loved. More patience at the bottom of the stairs. A warmer place to sleep. And presence. The same quality of presence you've always given them, minus the anxiety about what's coming. They can read your anxiety. They always could. If you spend the slowing years grieving in advance, your dog will spend those years managing your nervous system instead of simply living. Don't do that to them. The last year is different from the slowing, though it often arrives so gradually that you can't say exactly when one ended and the other began. The dog that used to sleep 8 hours sleeps 14. The dog that used to eat with enthusiasm sometimes turns away from the bowl. The dog that used to come to you when you entered the room sometimes doesn't lift their head. And one day, not dramatically, not in a single moment, but over the accumulated weight of weeks, you understand that you are in the last year. What does your dog experience during this time? Less in some ways. The world has gotten smaller. The range of what interests them has narrowed. The stimulation that used to delight, new places, new dogs, new smells, is now sometimes too much. They want the familiar. They want the predictable. They want the specific people and places and routines that have been home to them for their entire life. They want you. Research on older dogs consistently shows that proximity-seeking behavior increases in the final stage of life. Older dogs want to be closer to their owners than they did in middle age. They seek physical contact more. They follow more. They watch more. This is sometimes interpreted as neediness, as a loss of independence. It is something else. It is an animal doing what every mammal does at the end, orienting toward the source of safety, returning to the secure base, doing what their nervous system learned in the first weeks of life, when the world was overwhelming and the only answer was to press close to the warm, regulated other and let their calm become yours. They learned this before they could see. They are doing it now at the end. The same gesture, the first and the last. What remains? There is a question that haunts dog owners, and it is this: do they know? Not about death. That's a human preoccupation. But about the relationship. Do they know what they have been to you? Do they know what they meant? Research tells us that dogs form genuine attachments, neurologically measurable, behaviorally distinct attachments, to the humans in their lives. That they experience something when separated from preferred humans that is functionally indistinguishable from what we'd call missing someone. That the presence of their person produces neurochemical responses in their brain that overlap significantly with what humans experience as love. So yes, in the only way that matters, they know. They have always known. Not in language. Not in the future-oriented way humans understand love, thinking about it, narrating it, planning around it. But in the present, immediate, continuous way that animals know things. Through the specific quality of your smell, the particular rhythm of your breathing, the way their nervous system settles when you are near. You have been, for the entire length of their life, the thing that made the world safe. The first sight they remember. The voice that organized sound into safety. The face that said, "This is home." The presence that said, again and again and again, without words, in the only language either of you ever really spoke, "I'm here. You're safe. This is enough." They knew.